Hello and welcome to Abundantly Minimal. My name is Sarah and thank you for joining me in today's video as we continue our series here about Minimalist Living 101. The most recent video in the series was Think Like a Minimalist, and today we're going to look at specific actions that minimalists often take as part of their daily lives for Act Like a Minimalist. And I'll be sharing 6 specific things that you may be able to apply in your life, whether you are a minimalist or not. And I think this is an important topic for us because often people think of a minimalist lifestyle as an outcome. You declutter your home and then you're a minimalist. But quite frankly, while there's certainly an outcome of a simpler, cleaner home, you also change up a lot of the actions that you take. So I'm hopeful that you'll find any of these 6 actions helpful. Let's jump in. The first action minimalists take is to prioritize. Now, there's a lot of different things that we can prioritize. One very important thing that can be done right away is to schedule out your day based upon your priorities. If you find yourself setting a to-do list or trying to organize your schedule, many times we focus on external factors rather than our own priorities. Unfortunately, when we ignore our own priorities, and don't schedule them, they might not actually happen. Fortunately, when one does live a more minimal and intentional life, they are much more likely to prioritize and schedule in the activities and hobbies that matter most to them, as well as other factors of life such as exercising, taking care of themselves, spending time with family members or friends. All of those kind of activities that, unfortunately, if we prioritize work or school tasks, those can kind of get pushed to the side. From a decluttering perspective, minimalists are more likely to prioritize the items that they use most regularly or that provide them the most value, and in doing so, they're going to be more able to declutter those that are less valuable to them. And these priorities make it easier for minimalists to continue to let go of the items that don't add value as they go forward. Tidying is another action that minimalists often take. I know on YouTube there are a selection of videos where it's a clean with me whole house edition and the house is a disaster. And well, I think that can be very common, especially if someone's not living as intentional as they'd like. When we allow ourselves to just slip into utter chaos and have a very messy space, it's a lot tougher for us to continue making intentional choices. And I can speak from experience since I used to be a very messy person and I do still have some messy tendencies. A key way I overcome that is with small doses of regular tidying. So for many people, getting into the habit of putting things away right after you're done using it can be helpful. I'm not always that disciplined, but one thing that I do that works for me is actually to, before I go to bed, schedule just a 5 or 10 minute tidy session just to go around and put away anything that I got out and overall maintain the look of the space. Sure, there will be seasons of life where certain systems fall to the wayside or that certain areas become a bit more cluttered, but I'm a huge proponent of taking small, regular action to prevent things from getting out of hand in the future. Scrutinize is another action that minimalists take, being able to scrutinize the items that they have and be able to really evaluate if these are items that need to be kept long term. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that you're consistently walking through your space just looking for something to let go of. We don't want to go to the extreme of letting go of everything just to let go of something. We want everything to be intentional. But it's more so being open to casual observation as you're going through your daily life, thinking if, I haven't used this in a while. Why is that? Or, wait a second, why do I always choose this one rather than this one? And just being able to reflect about our possessions and gradually audit them over time. And this was something, especially in earlier stages of decluttering, as myself or my husband would be using different items or thinking about different items, over time, we would gradually fill up our decluttering bin of things to let go of from these items that we weren't intending to let go of, but we just realized and reflected through just gradual everyday use that it was no longer valid. So again, being open-minded about your items and not overlooking the opportunity on the daily basis to just kind of see, does this still add value to me? Do I still need to keep this? And this can be a really sustainable way to declutter rather than saying, okay, I have to set aside this amount of time to go through stuff. It just kind of happens in an ongoing way, which is really nice as we continue to learn and grow and audit our spaces. Next up, minimalists are more likely to care for and repair their items when needed. I think it's sort of interesting and ironic in society how so many people do consume very rapidly and purchase way more than they need, but because there's so much excess, they don't actually have the time or the ability to properly care for their items, properly store them, properly clean them and maintain them. And unfortunately, if they do break or fall apart, they are not able to or do not choose to repair them. Of course, some of these have to do with factors of, in many cases, it's actually cheaper to purchase a new item than repair the old one. So there are other factors in there that sometimes do lead people to make a choice to purchase new rather than repair. But in general, with a minimalist lifestyle, it is a lot easier to care for items, and if they need to be repaired, repair them, just because you don't have as much excess that you're working with. And it becomes easier to properly store items and give them the space to breathe, if you will. And this can be a really helpful metric to help our items last longer. So it almost helps perpetuate the cycle of not having to purchase new items just because you're caring better for what you already have. I think this also has to do with the fact that in life we might feel like we're pulled in so many different directions, but when we have fewer different items, there's fewer distractions and you can give more focus to each thing and not have as many items in your mental to-do list, which can also give us more extra bandwidth, if you will, to be able to properly care for these items. Another action that minimalists often take is to share when possible rather than own. Now, there's a lot of different forms for this, and I do know that right now, with COVID times, this is not as ideal as it would normally be, but in general, there are many different items or services that can promote sharing rather than needing each person to have their own version of it. And there's a couple different ways that this can happen. At the small scale, you can share with others in your household. For instance, it can be a lot easier if multiple people in your household use the same sort of products, whether it's the same sort of toothpaste, the same shampoo, the same everyday household items. Because then not only are you just needing to keep one item on hand instead of several, but you can also more likely justify purchasing items in bulk, which can save money in packaging and also just make things more convenient because you just have the one product. There's also situations where we can purchase one item that can be used by multiple family members. An example in my life is that I got a pair of blue light glasses back in May or June, and I find them really helpful. Personally, I just wear them once it hits 11 p.m. and then I work usually till 2 in the morning. It's my peak work hours. I know it's a little strange, but for me, it's been such a positive impact for sleep and eye strain at that time. And I'm just using it then. I don't use them during the day. But my husband has been working on his master's degree, finishing that up, and teaching remotely on the computer a lot. So he's been using them during the day. Sure, we could have both bought 2 separate pairs of blue light glasses, but since we don't need to use them at the same time, it's worked perfectly fine to share them. With media today, it's much more common for people to share different types of media in the form of streaming services, whether that's with music, movies, TV, etc., rather than needing to own the physical DVD or CD, whatever it is. Obviously, this is a technological thing, but it can help us shift our perspective of, if I'm going to be using this service to stream whatever this is, do I really need to still hold on to that physical DVD or CD or whatever it is? At bigger levels, using public transportation over a car is another way that you can focus on sharing rather than having it be just you in the car going to where you need to go. Again, it's going to all vary on people's lifestyle choices, where people live, what sorts of things they want to bring into their lives, but I encourage you to think about, before bringing in a new purchase, thinking if it is something that could be shared either within your household or within other people that you are close with or something else at large. The last action I'll be talking about today that minimalists often take is the fact that they commit. In life, if we want to make a meaningful lifestyle change, such as to declutter one's space or live an intentional life or live a healthier life, whatever it is, we have to make a decision and commit to it. And it's very easy to, keep living the life that you've been living. It's a lot easier to do that than say, you know what, enough's enough. I'm going to cut the cord on whatever this other lifestyle is and try something new and see what happens. And that's why, unfortunately, a lot of people feel stuck. They might make an excuse about why something's not possible, or they might say, well, I don't have enough time or the skills to be able to do this. And well, there are many legitimate reasons that do hold people back from taking a certain lifestyle change. We all do have the same 24 hours in the day. And ultimately, if we are willing to commit, we can figure out what to do about certain things, whether that's specifically seeking out the answer elsewhere ourselves, whether that's with investing in ourselves in a program that will help us, whether it's just showing up and doing the work, even if it's imperfect and really difficult at first. Just committing and taking action is a huge step that can not only help you simplify your life and declutter your space, if that's a goal of yours, but that can also help you on any path you wish to go on. So I think it's so important. We can talk about these different lifestyle changes all day and we can know a little bit of information about them, but if we don't actually commit and say, you know what, I'm going to do this and I'm starting now, this is what I'm doing, and actually do it, then we're not going to see the change that we want. Many of the minimalists who I know of at one point did not have it together and had a cluttered house and thought, you know what, this isn't right. This isn't how I want to live my life. I know I had that moment about 5 years ago at this point, and it's been a complete 180 for me. And any other person who's gone through a lifestyle change had probably a similar moment. So whatever lifestyle change you want to make, I would like to invite you to take some action on that today even, if possible. Thank you so much for checking out this video about 6 ways to act like a minimalist. If you're new around here, go ahead and subscribe to the channel right up here, and check out last week's video, Think Like a Minimalist, right over here. We'll see you next time. Bye.